I give the call to Member for McNamara.
Thank you, Acting Speaker, and I rise to speak on this motion put forward by the member for Ryan, who I think we all agree in this House that, and I remember his electorate, the member for Goldstein, I think we all agree in this House that it's not a matter of politics, it's a matter of science to support vaccines, that we must be guided by science in our support of vaccines. And I've said it before publicly, and I'll say it again, that vaccines save lives. Vaccines have been a miracle of modern medicine, a miracle of science and of understanding and of study and of evidence and of facts. And I want to start my contribution by saying thank you, first of all, Acting Speaker. Last week I was joined by the Shadow Minister for Health, the member for McMahon, and we visited the Burnet Institute in my electorate, which is one of the absolute top medical research facilities and centres in Australia, and it is proudly located in McNamara, even though they do have plans to head up north into the Parkville precinct in Melbourne. But the Burnet Institute, led very ably by Professor Brendan Crabb, hosted us, as well with the leader of the Doherty Institute, Professor Sharon Lewin, who also was there, and she is a board member of the Burnet Institute, is a highly collaborative ecosystem in the medical research space. But we had the privilege of walking around and speaking to the Burnet Institute, and they are doing amazing work on instantaneous COVID tests, blood tests that will be able to determine whether you do have COVID, how long you've had COVID for, or whether you're free, or whether you've got antibodies in your system. A really important test that will be able to instantaneously tell you whether you do have COVID at a very, very high success rate and a very low mistake rate, which is obviously a very important piece of information. But they are also continuing a lot of work on their other aspects of their research, including malaria, malaria drugs, and also supporting work around malaria vaccines. And there is actually a vaccine coming out for malaria. It does only have in the end, a 30% efficiency rate, but that is better than nothing, and that is also being explored at the moment. And I think that's the story of the COVID vaccines at the moment, is that there are some promising vaccine signs. There are some promising signs early on with the science where, whether it's the AstraZeneca vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine, the Moderna vaccine, the UQ, there has been some early results that suggest that there is hope, that we might be able to get to a place where the world as we know it might be severely disrupted by a piece of science and a piece of medical technology that we are so desperate for in the vaccine. But even if we do get there, even if we do have a highly efficient and effective vaccine, it is still uncertain about how long the vaccine will be efficient for or effective for. It is still uncertain about how long that a vaccine will protect us from the coronavirus. So it is important that we are constantly based and focused on science, and we are constantly listening to the science and constantly respecting it, and constantly assessing the efficiency and the safety of a vaccine. But it is amazing work, and we thank all of those who are putting their time and effort into it. But I think, before I finish, it is important to say that in Australia, we have been guided by science in order to deal with this pandemic. We've been guided by experts. And across the country, our health experts have stood up next to our politicians and have answered hard questions, and have answered questions on subjects that many members of our public haven't had to think about before. And they needed to be supported by politicians, and I know that there are many people in this place on all sides of politics that have stood by our public health experts. But there have been members who haven't. And the member for Hughes has constantly undermined our medical health experts in this place. The member for Hughes has constantly undermined our health experts in Victoria, has constantly undermined those overseeing the Therapeutic Goods Administration, the TGA. He's constantly spouted dangerous and false medical solutions to the coronavirus pandemic, and sadly, despite hundreds of occasions where the member for Hughes has used his prominent position, the Prime Minister has said nothing. He said nothing to stop his MPs undermining the health response. This vaccine will be based in science. We need to respect the science, and we need all government MPs to do so.
Time has expired.